Hello, champions. Champions, let me ask you this question. Are you having a hard time climbing the ladder to success? And it seems like you're going one prong at a time. And you're like, man, I intend on getting there. But it looks like the top of the mountain is almost insurmountable. And like it's going to take forever to get up here. This is a very slow pace that I'm getting. I'm trudging towards my goals and I'm trudging towards my destiny. But it's taken an amazingly long time. If that's you today, I'm going to show you in this video 3 moves to make so that you can reach your goals in lightning speed, way faster than you probably would have made them if you hadn't taken advantage of these 3 things. Okay, so let's talk about these 3 ways of being able to reach a goal a whole lot faster. Number one, first thing I would do to reach my goals a whole lot faster is that I would make my goal an impossible goal. You say, what do you mean by that, Rick? I would make the goal impossible with the way I'm currently doing things. You say, what does that do? That means that forces me to have to do things differently than the way I'm currently doing it in order to be able to reach the goal. You'll have to do something different. Just think about it. Do you like where you are? Are you satisfied with where you are? Are you going at the pace that you want to go at? Well, if you're not, that means you're going to have to get a different pace. So how do you get a different pace? You get a different pace because you get a different aim, which means that the thing that you're getting ready to do, you cannot do it on your own with the current structure that you have. So that means that you're going to have to partner with some people to be able to get the goal done because you just don't have the means to be able to do it. But it's a good thing because it leads towards the second thing that you ought to do. The second thing that you ought to do to be able to reach your goals a whole lot faster is that you want to do less in order to produce more. You say, what do you mean, Rick? Do less to produce more? Yes, because what happens is that you stop doing the things that don't produce the goal, the goal at a more fervent pace, because you give up all the stuff that you were doing that had you operating at the level you're currently operating at. For example, my goal for the next 6 months of the year is $30 million. So in order for me to make $30 million over the next 6 months, that means that the staff I currently have is going to have to be revived or revised, revived and revised. You say, why? Because we're doing okay. We're doing okay. We're doing okay, but not $30 million okay. So that means that in order to reach this goal, I'm going to have some new partnerships with some new people that I haven't had in the past because we have what people want to the tune of $30 million, and we can sell $30 million worth of products because we have a very unique product that with like zero competition. So it's possible to be able to do that, but not with not the current methods that we have. So this is different for most people don't like to do this. Most of us, it's very uncomfortable to be doing things and to be successful and then say, well, I don't want to mess around with my success. So let me just keep doing more of what I'm doing. Well, the problem with that is that you won't get to your goals much faster. You get to your goals in an incremental type of way. But I'm talking today about how to reach your goals exponentially and not incrementally. So the first thing I would do is that I would make the goal so high that I can't reach it the way that I'm currently doing business. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. If it makes sense that if I want to reach the goal a lot faster, then I have to have a goal that I can't reach doing what I'm currently doing. If that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. Okay, so uh, then secondly, so now I know I can't reach it based on what I'm currently doing because it's impossible to reach based on what I'm currently doing. So I'm suggesting to you to create impossible goals. You said, why would I create an impossible goal? The goal is not impossible. It's just impossible based on the way you're currently doing business. So that means that you have to change the way that you're doing business to reach this goal. All right. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put MS in the chat. You have to change what you're currently doing to reach the goal. All right. So now you said, okay, I'm gonna put a goal that's so high that I can't reach it doing what I'm currently doing. So that means I'm going to have to engage in partnerships and engage in a system that's different from the current system that I have, even though I'm doing okay. So I'm talking tonight about even if you're already doing okay, even if you already are doing well. What I'm saying is that if you want to climb the ladder of success a lot faster, then you're gonna have to make some radical changes because what you're currently doing, it'll get you there, in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 years. But if you want to speed that thing up where you can get there in a few months instead of a few years, then that means that you're gonna have to have some means that you don't currently have. Does that make sense? You have to have some means that you don't currently have. That means that you're going to have to meet some people that you aren't currently doing business with. See, this is a beautiful thing about impossible goals. When you make an impossible goal, impossible, the thing that you couldn't do before, the people show up who are supposed to be in your life to help you do what you could not do before because you have an impossible goal. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. We have a eunuch in the book of Acts, and this eunuch is rich. He's running a queen's treasure for Ethiopia, and he's sitting inside of his carriage reading the Bible, and he cannot understand what he's reading. It's impossible for him to understand what he's reading, but he has an impossible goal. He's trying to understand what he's reading, but it's impossible for him to understand it because he just does not understand. So what happens? Just because he's reaching towards an impossible goal, Philip shows up. Why? Because God always sends people to you when you have an impossible goal to make your goal possible, because God likes to show off like that. Because what's not possible with men is what's impossible with people is possible with God. And God is like, you would be tapping into what's impossible for you if you would make goals that are impossible for you. He said, then I would show up. He said, because the goals that you currently have, you know how you can do it. So God is like, okay, so since you know how you can do it, go ahead and do it. All right. He said, because I can't show off in that goal, because when you get that thing accomplished, you're going to say you did it. And God is like, no. He said, I'll show up in the goal when you get that thing accomplished, you have to admit that it was an impossible goal when I made it. And God is so good to me until he sent the people into my life to get the thing accomplished. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So Peter is reading, I mean, not Peter, but the Ethiopian is reading, and he's reading the book of Isaiah, and he's reading about Jesus Christ, but he does not understand what he's reading. He does not understand. He's like, is Jesus talking about himself, or is he talking about another person? So here Philip shows up, poof, about a thin air, because people, they just pop into your life. You're like, wow, where did they come from? Because you were thinking about doing something so big, until now God is like, okay, that's enough room for me to step in. Because God is like, I'm not going to step into your little basement goal. I'm not going to step into your little backyard goal. Why? Because he's like, that's not big enough for me. He's like, I like big things. I'm God. Okay. I like showing off. I like doing things that can't nobody else do, because I am like what? I'm like above everybody. He's like, so I like to show you. I like to show you just how possible things are for you. That's impossible for you if you would bring me into the situation. So that's why it's good to have an impossible dream. So Philip comes up and tells the young man, he says, other brother, rather, and he say, do you know what you're reading? And the man said, it's impossible for me to understand what I'm reading. He said, it's impossible. He said, how can I except somebody come and show me? Do you know how much money you would have if you made impossible goals? Do you understand the people that would show up in your life if you made an impossible goal? Do you understand how much God would help you if God knew that you would make an impossible goal and then give him the credit for it when he makes it possible? God would do anything for you, because God would do anything for you when you will be willing to give God the credit. You don't want goals that you can say you did. You want goals that say, hey, if it had not been for the Lord on my side, that would have never got accomplished, because God is interested in the sons and daughters of men, giving him praise, giving him glory, and acknowledging him. God loves being acknowledged by the sons and daughters of men, because he loves to help the sons and daughters of men, but he does not like arrogant people and people who will try to take the credit for what he helped them to do. So if we'll humble ourselves, then God will do amazing things for us. See, people are trying to do things without God. And I'm like, your goal is so small. God is not in that goal. Make that goal a whole lot bigger. Make it impossible, and watch who starts showing up in your life. So the eunuch has an impossible goal, a big goal, and Philip shows up. And Philip says, hey, he starts explaining to him who Jesus is. My man gets excited. He's like, wow. He said, well, here goes some water right here, man. Let's just go ahead and get baptized. So Philip said, that's great. He said, do you really believe that what? In your impossible goal? And my man like, yeah, I believe in it. I believe in my impossible goal. I believe now I can actually have salvation. I didn't even know that was even available. I just was trying to get an understanding about what I was reading. He said, but now I'm really excited, but now because I can believe on this Christ, and now I can have eternal life because I'm believing on this Christ. He like, man, that's even better. He said, let's bring it on. So he got baptized. Philip went up into the air, and my man went on his way, happy as a lark. Why? In just a few minutes, he accomplished an impossible goal. Did you hear what I said? When your goal is really big, God can come in and get that thing done way faster than you would have got it done if the goal had been so small. So that's number one. So number two, so make the goal impossible. Number two, make sure that you stop doing anything in your life that doesn't reach that goal. Okay. So you got a company, you got a business, you got people that are working with you. Okay. Let them do 80% of the work. You take your 20% of the work and you concentrate on nothing but your impossible goal. What will happen is that you'll become so prolific at doing your 20% until your goals would be realized a whole lot faster because you're so much better. See, the reason that people aren't very good at things is because they're doing everybody else's work. So if you do just your work and just your work alone, you'll reach your goals a whole lot faster because you are really good. So you have to be really good to make money fast and to make a lot of money. Are you hearing me? To be successful at a high level, you got to be good. In order to be good, you got to be concentrated on one thing, the thing that you do good, the 20% that you do for the business. Just work on that and don't do anything else. Okay. Um, just like a few minutes ago, we just started helping people with their health insurance because I just bought some health insurance and it's really good, really low price. You can go to any doctor you want to go to in the whole United States. It's just great. All right. Cheap, cheap, but cheap prices, but really good service. I mean, I mean, one of our colleagues was spending $1 million on health insurance and not only spending 300,000. That's how good it is. So the guy was like, "Okay, Rick, I want to take you and on board." I said, "No, no, no, no." I said, "Call my wife, Shantae. Here's her number right here. She's gonna go online. She's gonna set everything up because she's a wizard. Okay, she'd be done in a few seconds. I have no desire to do that. None. And what? And I got a $30 million goal. So I would have a $30 million goal, and I'm sitting on some computer trying to sign myself up for some health insurance when my wife is a genius with that stuff, really fast, really quick, loves to be on the computer, make it's child's play for her. Don't make ain't no big deal. Let her do that. Okay. And then let her go ahead on and shine and do her part because that's not my job to do. All right. And it doesn't slow me down one iota. So I can keep working on the things that I do best and get extremely good at the things I do best. All right. If that makes sense, put EG in the chat for extremely good. That you want to be extremely good. Not okay, not all right, but so memorable at your craft and to everybody has to acknowledge the fact that you're really good. Eliminate the competition because you're so good, because you're putting so much time into what you're doing, because you have delegated everything else to everybody else, and you're spending 20% of your time on the work that you used to spend 80% of your time on, and you're letting your team spend the other 80% of their time on the work, and you're only spending 20% of your time just in your field. In your field alone, that's it. If it's not in your field, do not do it. I'm talking to you today about 3 ways to be able to reach your goals a whole lot faster, to be successful at a very high level and to do things with a concentrated, purposeful meaning intentionally, where you can really enjoy your life and get good really fast and be able to help a whole lot of people and make way more money than you've been making. All right. So let's recap 1 and 2. Number one, make sure that the goal is so big that you can't do it, so that it forces you to have to get other people to work with you. Number two, make sure that you back up and stop doing as much as you're doing. In order to have big goals get reached, you have to do less, but you have to just do less better. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because that way you don't be half good at something you're really good because you're like, this is what all my focus is going on. You know what? It's such a beautiful life. Delegation is such a beautiful life. Most people don't reach this part of success. They just can't let go what somebody else ought to be doing. It's like I'm like, let that go, brother. Let that go, sister. Let them have that. All right. Let them shine with that. You just get back in there with what it is that you do. You see, why do you think people do that? Okay. Why do y'all think people do that? I believe people do that because they feel like they losing out. They was enjoying what they were doing so much. That is other people's jobs that they shouldn't be doing. They were enjoying it so much until they feel like, well, I'm gonna be bored if I'm not doing that, or I'm gonna feel like, that I'm missing out. I'm losing out on some of the joy of that activity. Well, let me explain something to you. That that what you thought you was missing out on, it would be overcome by your ability to be able to do what you need to do a whole lot better. You see, you'll get so much joy out of your task or out of what the part that you do. Being able to do it so much better, it'll compensate for the fact that you used to do things that were not moving a needle for you to become successful faster. See, success is okay, but success faster is the best. Money is okay, but making money faster is even better. Impact is okay, but having tremendous impact is even better. And today, that's what I'm talking about. The three things that I suggest that you do to be able to reach your goals a whole lot faster, because you can reach them faster if you're only doing what you ought to be doing, and the next person is doing what they ought to be doing. That's because your concentration level, it goes up tremendously, because you're not concentrating on five or six or seven or eight or nine or 10 different things. What happens with a company, when you, as the person that's running your business, when you are the person that's the key person of influence, what happens with your company is that your thinking gets saturated when you're doing everybody else's work. And when you start goal setting for something, all of the goals are based on the saturated type of work, which means that you can't grow exponentially. You can only grow incrementally, because you can't go nowhere fast like that, because it slows down. The system is not nimble. What you heard, you heard the nursery rhyme: Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. In order to be nimble, that means that you have to be doing one thing while everybody else is doing something else, because you got to move fast. How fast you move? Fast. Now, listen, not frantic, just a lot faster. Why? Because when you slow down, that's when you speed up. Don't do more, do less. You say, what do you mean by that, Ricky? That the business is going to go up under? It will not go up under. All right. It that's the deception of our minds, because we've been around people who are not used to leverage. Wealthy people are extremely used to leverage. Poor people are not. So you have to work your way up out of that if you grew up like I grew up, around a lot of poor people who believe in doing everything. Right. I'm like, no, that's not humility. What that is that's taxing. It's a whole lot of hard work that adds up to things extremely slow. So that's the second thing. Second thing I would do was I would delegate everything to everybody. I would focus on my one thing, and then you would see things happening a whole lot faster, because of the fact that you focus on only one thing. All right. Then the third thing that I would do is that I would set a deadline for everything. All my goals would have deadlines. Okay. I'd say I'm gonna have this done in a month, this done in 2 months, this done in 3 months. And then that way, the game plan that you devise will be based on, okay, so if this is going to get done in 2 months, that means that I'm gonna have to have this many people lined up to get this work done, because it's not going to get done in 2 months by me. And it's not going to get done in 2 months by the current people that I have. Or I'm gonna have to give these current people some different type of tasks to do to make this stuff happen in 2 months. See, what happens when you give yourself a goal is that you put that good kind of pressure on yourself. All right. Pressure is good when it's self-applied. Pressure is bad when it's based on neglect. See, when pressure is on you based on neglect, it's extremely stressful and it can kill you. Okay. But it's because you didn't do what you're supposed to do in advance. But in goal setting and reaching the goal a whole lot faster, when you put the pressure on yourself, it's a joyful pressure. Why? Because you put it on yourself. So you're like, look, you can't you can't kill me because I'm already dead. You can't kill a dead man. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So when you set your own goals, it's like somebody trying to shoot a dead man, because somebody else trying to come in and put some pressure on you. You're like, well, I put way more pressure on myself than you trying to put on me, because I gave myself a deadline that's impossible to reach based on what I'm currently doing. So the goal got to be impossible, and the deadline has to be impossible based on what you're currently doing in order to reach your goals a lot faster. Are y'all feeling what I'm saying? So, and you want it to be. You say, well, that's going to really stress me out, Rick. If I set a deadline of 2 months to make, $200,000 in 2 months, and to make 60 more sales in 2 months, and make 100 more sales in 2 months, that's going to freak me out. Well, it won't freak you out. What'll happen is that your mind will start racing now towards, well, what do I have to do to make that happen? And then God will show up and he'll help you. All you got to do, listen to me good. All you got to do is just make the decision that you're going to reach your goals a whole lot faster. Once you make that decision, then God makes the provision. You know what I meant? Let me just give you this last story and I got to go. Abraham, after he was 100, when he was 100 years old, he had a son. His name is Isaac. Isaac is the son of the promise. God tells him, he said, get up and go take your son into the mountain and kill him. Abraham is like, hmm? So Abraham gets up early in the morning because when God tells us to do something, you have to do it real fast. The 5 second rule. The 5 second rule is why we're so successful because we don't question God. When He tells us to do something, we just get up real quick and go do it. Whether it makes sense or not is irrelevant. So Abraham, he worked on that 5 second rule. So he gets up early in the morning because that's what that's indicating that he does it quick. He does it quick. He does it quick. He gets up early in the morning and he takes Isaac out and they walking up the mountain. He got the knife. He got the sacrifice. He got the wood and the whole thing. And they're walking. And he tells his boys, he said, listen, y'all wait right here. Me and my son, we're gonna be back. I'm like, is that faith or is that faith? He said, we'll be back, both of us, even though he got a knife in his hand for the sake of killing his son. So he gets all the way up to the mountain and he pulls the knife out. And his son said, hey, daddy, he said, I see the wood and I see the sacrifice. He said, I see the wood, I see that big old knife in your hand. He said, but where's the sacrifice? So Abraham is like, man, he said, God is going to provide the sacrifice. What? Something that's impossible to happen. He's like, man, I don't know what a sacrifice is. And it's impossible for me to understand it, but God knows. And he said, I believe in impossibilities. I believe we're going back. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know. I can't explain to you, son, how it's going to happen. But all I can say is lay on that wood, be obedient. Okay. I'm about to be obedient. I got this knife and I'm gonna have to give you the what for because that's what God told me to do. Now, God is able to raise you from the dead. How do I know that? Because God produced you from my dead body. See, Abraham knows that. He was 100 years old when he had a child, and he knew he didn't have no reason to have no child at 100 years old because there wasn't nothing that he physically did to have the child because it doesn't even make sense. So he said, this same God who gave me a child at 100 years old, if I kill a child, he's able to raise him up from the dead. That's in Hebrews chapter 11, in case you need to read it. He said, accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead if he killed his own son. So he decides to put the knife up in the air. When he puts the knife up in the air, guess what happened? Man, before he can come down, boom, there go the impossible turning into the possible. He looks over and there's a ram in the bush. And he says, wow, a ram in the bush. Thank you, Lord. And he chops up the ram instead of chopping up his son. But he didn't have any provision until he made his decision. That's why when you make a decision to do something impossible, then God gives you the provision to make it happen. So that's my three gems for tonight. If I were you and I wanted to be successful a lot faster, number one, I would make an impossible goal so that I got to change what I'm doing to do it. Number two, I would delegate everybody around me to help reach the goal and I would only focus on what I'm good at. That's what I do, number two. And then number three, I would just make a decision to put a deadline on things because once I make a decision, then the decision, it provides the provision. And then you can have a wonderful, successful life at a very high level and just continue to do the same thing. Every time you reach a goal, say, okay, let's set another impossible goal. And every time you reach it, say, great, let's set another impossible goal. Wouldn't that be a whole lot more exciting than setting goals that you can clearly see how they're going to get done? That's my advice to you tonight. You guys enjoy your beautiful night. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. I love you all. Ain't nothing you can do about that. And remember, that stellar is a stellar dust. Now go out and do the impossible. All right. God bless you. Have a wonderful